We've got 5 brand new precons coming with Secrets of Strixhaven, one for each of the 5 schools of magic in 5 enemy color combinations. And each one looks to do something different, looks to reinvent the color combinations and the archetypes that they can represent. Well, all except Witherbloom Pestilence. I'm really disappointed by this precon. It makes you think that it cares about life gain, but it really doesn't. Let's break down how it plays out of the box, what we can do to upgrade it, and what we can do to turn it into an infinite combo engine. And you wouldn't be wrong to think that this is a precon that cares about life gain. After all, the original Witherbloom precon forged this archetype in a great unique way, caring about the amount of life you gained or lost for some interesting dynamics. And the Witherbloom mechanics from this main set, Infusion, which gives you bonuses to spells and abilities if you've gained life this turn, and Pests, a token that enables you to gain that life, works well in the main set, but not in this precon. Sure, there are a few cards, old and new, that care about gaining life in the deck. Trudgeguard, Witch of the Moors, Defiling Demagoth, but that's not what the deck is about. In reality, the deck is just a black-green aristocrats deck, caring more about sacrificing creatures, as evidenced by both Dina and Gorma, our deck's new legends, where life gain is an afterthought. Which makes this precon boring. It's basically the Marin of Clan Nel Toth deck that cares even more about sacrificing creatures with very little payoff. This is the ground we've tread before, which is disappointing. But don't let that make you think that this deck is weak. On the contrary, it's probably the easiest of the 5 Secrets of Strixhaven precons to turn into an infinite combo engine on a budget, which gives it some real legs at the table, but still doesn't do anything new. This is a deck that you've seen before. In addition, the default list has the worst reprints of all 5 decks, and the lowest overall default value. Orin Frostfang and Toxic Deluge make for some great staples that fit into any deck, but apart from that, there's nothing in here over $3, and nothing making it worth picking up for more than the new black-green lands that, no doubt, will be printed into oblivion in the years to come. The deck list itself is good, it's solid, and can get you some good core gameplay loops going where you're sacrificing creatures like Bloodghast or Nether Trader over and over again, draining opponents slowly, but that's almost all you've got. You're a control deck and the grindiest of the decks, making you just as slow as the Silverquill Influence precon, and easily overcome by decks like Prismari Artistry and Lorehold Spirit that seek to generate big, evasive tokens. Some of the new cards in the list are a lot of fun, like Pest Rescuer. Remember how expensive and sought after Ophiomancer was for the longest time? Well, now we have another one, and I expect this one to be just as popular. And Ominous Harvest, the return of Gravestorm, the ability to copy the spell for each permanent put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn. It is sure to be a fan favorite soon. When Gravestorm was first teased in Future Sight, we didn't have treasures in the game yet, which make this a fun include in a deck that looks to make and sacrifice a bunch of them. And in my playtesting of the deck, it never felt bad, but it never felt like it was doing more than denying opponents resources. It was plinking away at life totals or making them sacrifice creatures, and trying to make bigger and bigger creatures, but always wanted you to sacrifice those creatures for fun and profit. So how do I rank it then? Unfortunately, I think it is the worst of the 5 Secrets of Strixhaven precons. Sorry all you Witherbloom fans out there, but I think there's merit to picking it up. If you want to make your first Aristocrats deck, you'll find many of the pieces you need here, though you'll find little other use for the cards in the 99 outside of this archetype. And with just a 10-card upgrade, you can turn this into one of the game's most efficient and effective combo engines, which can make a lot of players their first avenue to a bracket 4 deck with a precon to work with. And with no combos included in the 99, and in an environment of unaltered precon versus precon, it really struggles to hold its own. I've got to rate the Witherbloom Pestilence precon at a C grade. The only redeeming factor is the ease with which you can upgrade it. But before we take a look at upgrades, let's look at the 2 new legends in the deck. Dina, Essence Brewer, who returns for her quote-unquote tea, and Gorma the Gullet, who will be many folks' new best friend and worst enemy. But first, Dina. This 3-mana 2/3 Dryad Druid returns, though now she says, whenever you sacrifice a creature, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. 2, tap, sacrifice another creature, you gain X life and put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. And here's where you can see my first issue. The original Dina cared about life gain, and let you make great decks around life gain. So many were anticipating that the theme would continue, considering the core themes of the set and the color combination on Strixhaven. But here, the life gain is tacked on. It's not the focus. The focus is sacrificing creatures, getting benefits for sacrificing creatures, not for gaining life. There's no synergy there. Sure, she's a card draw engine in the command zone, which is good, but there's very little synergy with life gain. I'd love to see Dina in the 99 of a Gitrog Ravenous Ride deck, where you've packed it full of big cheap creatures with downsides you can sacrifice for fun and profit. But here, on her own, or at the lead of any deck built around her, why choose her over like any other black-green legend? But fortunately, Dina is not alone, because we have a far superior legend in the form of Gorma the Gullet. This pest frog is a 3-mana 1/1 with lifelink that reads, whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Gorma. Non-token creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each creature that died under your control this turn. And again, we can see that Gorma doesn't synergize with life gain like many were expecting from this deck. In fact, the only sign of life gain here is the life link, but we have a pretty strong indicator that Gorma wants you to sacrifice creatures to have him and other creatures you have enter the battlefield, get bigger and bigger. And I say Gorma is superior because, while he doesn't draw cards, he is your combo enabler in this deck. Anything that lets your creature enter with a counter is immediately broken for a few key reasons that we'll get into in the combo zone. But it's because of this reason I'll show you the quickest path to turn this Precon into a combo engine, to take down opponents out of nowhere, and in a lot of cases win on turns 3 or 4. Gorma needs to be at the head of this deck for that to work and to have consistency, so I strongly recommend you get him into the command zone as soon as possible. So then let's break down this combo that I've been teasing. How does Gorma go infinite with just a few commons? If you're a fan of the channel, you'll have seen my brews and deck primers for Gev Scaled Scorch or Grumgolly the Generous before, and the combo is quick and efficient, but not necessarily easy to understand. Any creature that lets your creatures enter with 1 or more +1/+1 counters works with persist creatures. Creatures like Lesser Masticore, Putrid Goblin, or Renma Trap, each of which we'll find room for in this deck later. Now these creatures, when they die, come back with a -1/-1 counter on them when they die, as long as they didn't have a -1/-1 counter on them when they died. And thanks to Rule 122.3, a +1/+1 counter and a -1/-1 counter cancel each other out as state-based effects when placed on the same creature. They're not there together, one removes the other. This matters because it allows a creature with Persist to die, enter with a -1/-1 counter and an additional +1/+1 counter from any source, like Gorma, and no longer have that -1/-1 counter on it, meaning it can die, come back, again and again and again. So this creates an infinite loop where a Viscera Seer, Blood Artist, Putrid Goblin, and Gorma can drain the whole table. That may seem like a lot, but remember that redundancy helps us a lot here. The Viscera Seer in this combo can be any free sack outlet like an Umbrocaller Zealot or a Woe Strider, both of which are in the default list. And if that doesn't immediately scream Aristocrat deck to you, I don't know what does. I'd recommend adding at least Carrion Feeder for one more free sack outlet in the list as well. Blood Artist can be a Zulaport Cutthroat, also in the default list, or effects like Bastion of Remembrance that we'll need to add to the deck for some of our game-ending synergies. And here's where I'd also recommend Vengeful Blood Witch, Marionette Apprentice, and Cauldron of Essence, all to up the redundancy, giving you even more options for this combo to take out the whole table once online. And the Putrid Goblin could be a Wing Rattle Scarecrow or a Lingering Tormentor to give you even more persist options. The Renclaw Trow and Lesser Masticore round out the suggestions to the list I'd like to add. In the end, the only unique piece of this combo is Gorma, which is why it is crucial that he be in the command zone if you want this to be a sick, infinite combo aristocrat list with these upgrades consisting of mostly commons and uncommons. Now, of course, this means that we have to make cuts to make room for these cards, so the question is, what goes? And this is where, in reality, we can cut anything that doesn't sacrifice a creature or care if we sacrifice the creature. And I've started with the very meager package in the deck that cares only about life gain. Trudge Garden, Witch of the Moors, and Defiling Demagoth to begin with, even though Defiling Demagoth is the unaltered list's best win con, it just doesn't make sense with these edits to keep it in the list. There's a world where you pop off and sacrifice a huge creature with Dina and then have the Demagoth finish the table off, or you cast an Exsanguinate off of a Stensian Sanguinist and just win. But that's a different deck altogether. Blossoming Bog Beast is, well, a beast in any life gain focused deck dedicated to gaining life, which again this deck is not. But there's a world where you go wide, sacrifice something to Dina, and Bog Beast is just a Craterhoof Behemoth every turn. That's a great line for the unaltered deck, not this streamlined combo list. I could see some corner case arguments for keeping Vanewitch Coven in the deck, but it would cost 4 mana to return it and recast it, in a deck where we have the option to return straight to the battlefield for 2 mana. I'm looking at you, Teacher's Pest. This is a lackluster addition, even in the unaltered deck. Along these same lines, Mortality Spear can get cut. We're cutting most of the life gain elements, meaning this is going to more than likely cost 4 mana every time we want to cast it, making it the worst inclusion over, well, any other piece of removal. Springbloom Druid can go too, since we've shifted the curve to care more about 1 to 3 mana spells and away from needing the extra ramp to activate Dina every turn cycle. We don't need to ramp when we bring our mana curve much lower. And if our curve is down lower and we don't need to ramp, then Culling Ritual is probably doing us more harm than good in more situations. This is a great card in a lot of decks, especially where you want to fuel a big X cost spell like an Exsanguinate to end the table. But if we're going the Aristocrat combo, not needed. Lastly, while I know he's one of the biggest ticket reprints in the deck, Guillaume Master Chef is not doing us anything in this list. Again, if we want life gain, then making food is fine. But we don't want to be spending that mana, and this does nothing to win us the game in the long run. And with those adds and cuts, you've turned the deck into a combo engine, adding just about $10 to the base list. It is that easy, really. I've built versions of this deck with other commanders on a $25 budget, so I wouldn't be surprised to see an ultra budget version of this list if Gorma the Gullet ever drops under $5 in the future. But if you're looking to up the power level even more, then there's some ways to do it, mainly with altars. Altars like Ashnods, Phyrexian, and Dementia are the best and most consistent free sacrifice outlets in the game, which makes them important if you're upping consistency. Altar of Dementia, combined with Gorma and a Persist creature, ends the game without need for any other effect, making it the most efficient line for this entire combo. Altar of the Brood, yes, another altar, can be added in place of any aristocrat effect to mill all opponents out in this loop, meaning it makes another redundancy and consistency piece for the deck's additions. While Spawning Pit makes another amazing free sacrifice outlet, and the Meathook Massacre makes for another great aristocrat effect, it really just goes to show how much redundancy there is for pieces of this combo. You really could get this so consistent that it's popping off for infinite wins on turn 3. But with all of this being said, do I think that Witherbloom Pestilence is a good precon? No. Out of the box, it can do some work, and I'm sure many of you will rush to the comments telling me how you soloed the pod with it, but it's honestly, out of the box, one of the weakest entries in the set of the 5 Secrets of Strixhaven precons. Have you found a way to make it even better though? Is going the Aristocrats route with it too boring and too linear? How would you pivot it to life gain even further? And would you keep Dina at the lead of the deck? I want to hear from you and I want to see your comments. And don't leave without checking out my sponsors like Card Conduit. They are hands down the easiest way to sell your individual Magic cards without the hassle of traditional buy listing. They'll get you top dollar while handling all of the heavy lifting, from sorting to grading to optimizing your price across a huge network of vendors. And they'll give you cold hard cash for it. You can use the promo code MECHANIC right now for 10% off of all fees. And if you want to pick up the cards for this list, make sure to go check out Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC right now for 5% off your order from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only one shipping fee. Save money and time today. Lastly, you can check out all of my decks on MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks and search for specific cards with their powerful tools. Have you checked out their drag and drop feature yet? It's revolutionary. Be sure to check out my brews and follow my profile there right now. If you were inspired to brew today, you have to hit that subscribe button. Check out this other deck on my channel right now for more sweet tech. And as always folks, good luck and have fun.